Every fitness plan you've ever followed was built for someone with a normal schedule, and that's exactly why it hasn't worked. Firefighters have a completely different lifestyle, and a very small percentage of the population actually understand it, so generic fitness advice isn't practical when it comes to working 24 or 48-hour shifts. In this video, I'm going to show you the simple 3-step plan I created to make fat loss flexible enough to lose fat even when you're short on time, running back-to-back calls, and don't always have control over who's cooking. Now let's talk about one of the biggest hangups in burning fat on shift, which is how the hell am I supposed to get time to work out when I'm running calls all day? When I first tried to get in shape, I was running a 5-day-a-week bodybuilding split. You know the one, the chest day, back day, leg day, the whole thing, and each session took close to 2 hours to complete, and I was already exhausted from the job as it was. So I'd show up to shift, try to get it done, and within 20 minutes, the tones would drop, of course. We would run some calls, come back, and try again just for the cycle to repeat itself. It actually got to the point where my crew had a running joke about this. The second I would pick up a weight, they would go and sit in the trucks because they knew without fail, every time I tried to train, we'd be catching at least 3 calls. And then I'd end up with a 3-hour rest period in between sets. Look, I worked 2 miles north of the Detroit border. Ask me how often I got a clean 2-hour window. So what I ended up doing was I scrapped the whole thing after beating my head against the wall for a couple of years, and I dropped down to 2 full body workouts a week. These were 40 minutes each, and they were built around movements that actually mattered on the job, like knee over toe lunges to protect your hips during a primary search, or Cuban press for the rotator cuffs during overhaul. You had Jefferson curls for the low back, and single leg deadlifts to protect and bulletproof your hamstrings. And here's the thing, I got stronger than I ever did on 5 days a week because I finally stopped ignoring recovery. And the bonus was, if I missed a session, I just moved it. But the whole plan didn't collapse because I wasn't trying to train every day to begin with. And honestly, being short on time is common among firefighters. In fact, my client, Mike, was juggling full-time shift work, paramedic school, and providing for his family. 5 days a week was never going to happen, so we put him on this exact routine, and he lost 25 pounds in his first 90 days. If you want the free protocols that Mike started with, they're linked in the description. Now here's the thing, all the workouts in the world aren't going to amount to anything without a nutrition strategy that can survive a busy shift, and I learned that the hard way. So let's talk about what actually drives 90% of fat loss, which is going to be diet. Look, nutrition was the thing I thought I never had time for on shift, and if I'm being really honest, the way that most people teach it, they're right, but you don't. I was trying to calculate my macros and track calories, factor in my activity level, and plan meals in advance. Honestly, I was spending more time planning food than I was actually eating it. And then the shift would happen, someone else would be cooking, and the whole plan would fall apart anyways. And it's not like the internet is gonna make this easier. You got keto, carnivore, vegan, intermittent fasting, and every single one of them swears that the others will kill you. I'll never forget the look on my crew's faces when I told them I wanted to try some vegetarian meals. In fact, I think one of them filed a formal complaint with the chief. Anyways, what I actually figured out is that the best diet for shift work is the one that you can stick to. And what I could stick to was simple. I stopped tracking everything and started focusing on just 2 numbers: calories and protein. Calories at your goal body weight multiplied by 12 to 13, and protein at your goal body weight multiplied by 0.75 grams. That's it. And here's the thing, with this system, it doesn't matter who's cooking that day. It doesn't matter what the shift throws at you. Those 2 numbers are flexible enough to survive anything. And that flexibility is what kept me consistent for years instead of just weeks. My client Kyle is a good example of this. He liked to go 100 miles an hour, all or nothing, with everything that he did. He was tracking all of it, optimizing for everything, and still stuck in a fat loss plateau. We pulled him back to just these 2 numbers, and he lost 140 pounds in 18 months with 2 numbers. That's all it took. Now, to be fair, he does also benefit from an AI that's built into our program app that helps him log his calories and his protein when he sends it pictures of what the crew makes. Now, even with solid training and nutrition dialed in, I was still moving at what felt like a snail's pace until I figured out this one piece about improving my sleep. And if you think that sleep is completely out of your control on shift, you definitely need to hear this next part. Working just north of Detroit meant one thing: we were busy. I was getting 2 hours of sleep on shift on the regular, and that was a good night. And when you're running your whole life on that kind of sleep, having the energy to follow through on anything, even a simple meal, starts to feel impossible. I'm sure you've been there, right? We've been in this story. You finally get what seems like a slow shift during the day and you get ready for bed, close your eyes, and then, of course, like that's when the tones drop. I remember literally thinking to myself, it's like the regulars have cameras in the station waiting for the exact right moment to call. And even when I did get a few hours, the sleep was shallow because part of my brain was still listening for the radio, listening for the tones. We could get no calls throughout the night. I mean, a unicorn shift, and I'd still be waking up exhausted. I couldn't win. What I realized was that I couldn't control the tones and I couldn't control the call volume, but I could control the quality of the sleep that I was actually getting. So I focused on one thing that made more difference than anything else. And fair warning, please do not send me an angry message after I say this, but I cut off caffeine 10 hours before I went to bed. At the time, I had no idea that caffeine stays in your body for 10 to 11 hours and that even a small amount left in your system significantly tanks your REM and your deep sleep quality. I was effectively trading feeling sharp early in the day for being completely wiped out the next morning, on top of already running on 2 hours of broken sleep. And the truth is, cutting the caffeine off earlier gave me back the energy to actually follow through on the training and the nutrition that we just talked about. I saw this exactly play out with my client David as well. He was struggling to stay consistent with anything because he was exhausted all the time working at a busy department. We changed this one habit and he lost 25 pounds in 16 weeks, not because we changed his whole routine overnight, but because he finally had the energy to follow through on the simple things. So let's bring this all together. I was able to make this possible and survive shift work by following 3 steps, which were 1, 2 full body workouts a week instead of 5 for 40 minutes each, and they were actually built for the job. 2, I built a shift-proof nutrition system that simplified things down to 2 numbers, focused on calories and protein that were flexible enough to survive whatever that shift threw at me. And 3, I stopped caffeine at the right time to protect the quality of the hours I was getting, even when the call volume was through the roof. But here's the thing though, even knowing all of this, it still took me years to figure out how to make it fit my life because I was doing it alone. If you want help putting this together in a way that actually works with your schedule, your department, and your lifestyle, that's exactly what I do. I've helped hundreds of career firefighters lose 20 to 40 pounds, get their energy back, and improve their mobility without living in the gym, regardless of the type of schedule that they're on. There's a full breakdown of the program and an application for coaching linked in the description under one-on-one coaching. And if you want a step-by-step breakdown of the full sleep protocol I use with my clients to maximize energy on shift and at home, I've got a video walking through the entire thing right here. Remember, being in shape is part of the uniform. I'll see you in the next one.